Hi, this is Vicki with a Paper Connection. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, and I am so happy to be with you today. I mentioned earlier in the week, whenever I did my Wednesday card, that it's early October and it's still in the 90s in Middle Georgia. But I still have the Christmas spirit in my heart, and I am ready to show you this gorgeous card. This is a fun fold. I wanted it to look like a painting. So I created a frame, and then you open it up like that. How fun is that? Love it. And almost the entire page is stamped, but it's not as hard as it looks. I'm going to show you how to do that. I used Snow Front and Greatest Part of Christmas for my greeting. Don't you love that huge Christmas greetings on the front? I think it just makes it. So without further ado, let's get started playing. So I've brought in everything I'm going to need to make the card. I'm using crumb cake, and it is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and it's scored at 5 1/2. And don't know if you've been told this or not, but wherever the valley is, which I've already folded this one so it's hard for you to see, but wherever the valley is, meaning the indentation where you do the scoring, that's where you fold it, and you leave the ridge on the inside, and then you just use your bone folder to create that crease. I think you might be able to see. Nope, I folded that one too. Anyway, that's how you do it. And what I'm going to do is, normally I do my stamping first, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little bit of snail. Whoops. I'm going to put a little bit of snail on the back side, just a small little bit. And I'm going to place this evenly on the front of this. I'm going to look at my corners and make sure my corners are even. And then I'm just going to place that down. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down. When I made that card before, I ran it through the Big Shot. Then I had to glue that small piece in place. Why do I want to do that? I should make it easy on myself, right? So I'm going to look at my corners and make sure my corners are all lined up. Then, once you rub it down, it stays put. So now I'm going to take this frame and put a little piece of washi tape, and I'm going to run it through the Big Shot. I'll be right back. Okay. You'll notice that I placed some washi tape on it. I wanted to make sure that it didn't shift in the process. And what I did was I ran it through twice because it's double the thickness, and I wanted to make sure that it cut all the way through. And there we go. I'm glad I thought, whoops, I should have run it through 3 times. Oops. Let me get my scissors. It's no worries. I'll just trim that off right there pretty easily, like clean it up. Yeah, with it being 2 pieces of cardstock, I really should have run it through 3 times. But no harm, no foul. It will work, and it'll be fine. There we go. Clean that up a little bit right there too. All right. So we've got our frame ready, and I'm going to bring in, well, you'll notice that this is a brand new piece of Whisper White, and there's a story behind that. If you can see, this was what I was trying to tell you about earlier. See the indentation right here? That's called your valley. The raised portion right here is called your mountain. You want to put your mountain together and your valley on the outside, and then just take your bone folder along the lines and see how nice and folded that is. I want to point out to you my fingernails and my fingers are covered in green, and I'll tell you that story as we get along further into this thing. Now this paper is cut at 4 by 10 1/2 inches, and it's scored at 5 1/4. And what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to try to line this up in here to where it looks like it's just about even on all sides. And then I'm going to close it up like that. It's not glued in yet. Then I'm going to take my pencil, and I'm just going to draw lines that will just kind of give me my borders and my parameters, okay? Set that to the side. Then I'm going to bring in my early espresso and my stamp that says Christmas Greetings. It's a pretty large stamp, so I'm going to just flip it upside down and I'm going to ink it like this, okay? This is going to be the focal point. If you saw my video on Wednesday, my focal point was the cabin. This is such a large greeting that I want this to be my focal point. And I'll just give you a little hint on this. This is one of the cling mount stamps. And when they come to you, they do not have the labels on them. You have to put the labels on them yourself. And if you don't get the label on perfect, you cannot take that label off. And if you don't get it on perfect, then your writing will be somewhat off. And so that's what happened with me. Not today, but on another day. So what I did was I flipped it upside down, I placed it on my grid paper, and I tried to line the bottom line of the greeting. I tried to line it up with a line on my grid paper. So then what you do, instead of looking at the greeting or the sentiment, you hold your block where it's completely square and squared off. Like that. Yep. Okay, let me clean that off. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do while I still have my early espresso out is the next focal point that I have is my cabin. That's the next thing that I want to be seen. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that there. I don't know if you noticed that I had shaded spruce on that block, but I'm about to tell you what I have been through today. I'm bringing my shaded spruce in. Excuse me. This is actually garden green. And I have already done this project 2 other times. I have had my challenges today. Murphy has been at my house today. You've heard of Murphy's Law? Well, Murphy has been at my house today. So I stamped my first card thinking that it was garden green, and it came out super, super dark. And the reason why is because I had re-inked my ink pad. Problem was, I re-inked it with shaded spruce. I have a Stampin' storage unit that is, it's one of the wooden units that will hold, it will hold your ink pad, your re-inker, and your marker. And what I did was, oops, my stamp came off. Okay, here we go. Sorry. What I did was I had re-inked it, and what I didn't realize was that the re-inker was shaded spruce that was in the spot for garden green. So now my garden green ink pad is ruined because I took it off and I blotted it. I mean, I got ink all over my fingers. I blotted it thinking that I had taken care of the problem, and I actually made the problem worse. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm having to also add blocks or put these on blocks because I am prepared for a class tonight, and most of my blocks are already packed up. It's just been one of those days. So anyway, I blotted my garden green, and then I re-inked it again, not knowing that I had 2 shaded spruce instead of 1. I thought maybe that I had done the wrong one, and that maybe, you know, that I had just picked up the wrong one and done it. No, There we go. So I did 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th generation stamping on that one. All right. So long story short, my garden green is toast, and I am going to have to buy a new one. So, moral of the story here, 2 morals. Make sure before you re-ink exactly which re-inker that you are using. The second moral of the story is never, ever, ever give up. Otherwise, I would have tossed this card and the video, and I would have said, just forget it, I'm done for the day. But you know what? This is turning out pretty. And you know something else? I think these kind of trees probably are more the color of shaded spruce anyway, truth be told. So I don't know why I'm fretting it so much. Okay, so what you're seeing me do now is just kind of go along with the crumb cake, and I'm doing first, second, and third generation stamping with that. Okay, for this section right here, I'm going to bring in this smaller stamp. It kind of looks like a mound or a hill, and it kind of contours around the land. And I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to do first, second, and third generational stamping here as well. Even a little bit of fourth. Turn it over. There we go. I like that. Okay. Now the last thing I'm going to do is to do my snowman. And my snowman is going to be in crumb cake as well, only I'm going to stamp off first. Okay, and I want to try to keep it within the parameters of those drawn in guidelines. So can't see that one very well, but it's all right. All right, now I'm just going to take my gum eraser. These are perfect for erasing, but they're also perfect for if you get too much glue on something and your project becomes kind of gummy. If you let the glue dry, you can take your gum eraser and you can erase that extra glue off. Okay, so now let's assemble our card. Oh, before we do that, I do have to stamp the inside of it. I'm going to use Mary Merlot. Feels very awkward and weird opening it from the right instead of the left. There we go. The greatest part of Christmas is the time spent with those we hold dear. You know what? I could sit here and moan and groan about ruining my garden green ink pad. I could moan and groan about this being the third time, because when I finally did record it, or when I did it perfectly, I had not hit record of all flippin' things. So don't give up, people. Don't give up. Never, ever, ever give up. Isn't that what Winston Churchill said? Something similar to that. Never, ever, ever give up. Okay, I'm going to take my bone folder one more time, because with this added extra piece in here, it makes it stick out just a little bit. And you might have a few little frays here and there from having cut your rectangle out. That's a lot better. See the benefit of the bone folder? That's perfect. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is to add a embellishment to it. And I'm just going to do that right there. Pretty, pretty, pretty card. Despite all of the issues I had to try to make it happen, that's a pretty, pretty card. And now I have 3 of them. That makes me one more ahead of the game for Christmas. And so here you go. This is how it works. Isn't that cool? And you could write a poem or whatever you wanted to. You could even take a picture on the inside of that of your family for people. Isn't that a fun fold? I love it. And I'm glad that I didn't quit, that I persevered so that I could bring you this video today. I hope this inspires you to never quit. I hope it inspires you to count your blessings and don't sweat the small stuff. And it also inspires you to create one of your own. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already, click subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll get notice whenever I have other videos come out. And you never know, it could be just as entertaining with all of my mistakes and bobbles and all of that. So anyway, thanks again for joining me. Have a great day.